Night Vision. Following clues left by our ancestors, we unbury the past to reveal a knowledge of unfathomable value, putting us just a little closer to our own true birthrights. From the secret history of a possible bloodline of Jesus Christ, the secret history of America's founders, to the secret history of extraterrestrial interaction on our planet, here to bring light to the night. Your host for Night Vision Radio, Renee Barnett.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Night Vision, or if this is your first time, welcome to Night Vision. Glad to have you here with us this evening. We've got a great show planned for tonight. We're going to be talking about, first of all, missing women who are missing from history, and women who are missing from the Bible, and some women who are in the Bible, but were either misrepresented through the years, just sort of got translated out one way or the other. So I'm really excited to get into that subject with my guest tonight. And as well, we're going to be talking about her latest research into some Templar caves in England, which I'm really excited to hear about. Everybody loves the Knights Templar. So I'm really excited to get into that. But before I bring on my guest, my very special guest, I would like to just note a couple of things. Today, we're going to be talking about all these wonderful women, and I'd like to acknowledge a couple of women in my life who are no longer here. One just passed today, and that was Liz Sheridan. She was an actress and a former dancer. She's most known for playing Seinfeld's mother, Jerry Seinfeld's mother, on Seinfeld. And I got to know her several years back and had a lot of nice fun lunches and dinners with her, and she spun her tales, and there was a lot about her that, I didn't know before. I didn't know that she was a dancer and that she was once roommates with Marilyn Monroe, and also that she had a blazing, according to her, love affair with James Dean, and in fact wrote a little book about it called Dizzy and Jimmy, because Dizzy was her nickname back in those days. But anyway, Liz passed today at the age of 93, and she will be missed. And but she leaves behind a body of work that is going to be entertaining people for generations to come. So also, I wanted to recognize the 1-year anniversary of the passing of my good friend, my dear, dear friend, Gloria Amendola, who was an author and a researcher. And she suddenly passed last Easter Sunday. So that anniversary is a strange one now. It's going to be every Easter. We're going to be reminded, and hopefully one day it won't be a sad reminder, but we will be able to remember Gloria in all her glory, because she certainly was, and I'm sure she still is. And I think she's looking over me right now, and she's probably saying, "You better say something nice about me." But anyhow, wanted to just note those two wonderful women from my life and from the lives of a lot of you, because a lot of you guys knew Gloria, knew her work. And I'm sure just about everybody has seen Liz Sheridan's work, at least on Seinfeld. But without further delay, I'd like to bring on my guest, author and researcher, Gretchen Cornwall. Hi, Gretchen. Got your coffee cup? Uh-oh. Let me see. I can't hear you. Is your mic muted?
Now?
Now, there we go.
Okay, I'm here.
We both got our coffee.
Cheers.
Except, of course, yours is probably much more needed right about now than mine is.
I I got
Mine
a
is
bit.
keeping me up. Yours is waking you up. So
Yes. Yes, I got a little bit befuddled as to what time it was because it's 4 a.m. here.
I know that happens more than you might think. It's kind of because, for one thing, there's the time changes, and then there's that little period of time when you guys have changed, but we haven't. And I should mention that you're in England, so that's why the strange time difference there. But I do appreciate you agreeing to get up
Oh,
and
I'm delighted to be here, and if I'd set my alarm clock properly, I would not be quite as silly at the moment. So,
I
but yes, I've got my coffee, and
honest mistake.
yes, and just wanted to say what a special tribute to both the ladies that you were speaking about, your special friends, and certainly one that, as you said, is known to millions of us. And bless them, they're watching over your shoulder
Yeah,
as we speak, probably. So
I certainly hope so, because I need all the help I can get.
that one.
But it's interesting, sort of how we came up with this topic. The topic about women who just seem to kind of been missing from the Bible, and the more I thought about that, the more I thought about how it just kind of went through history. It wasn't just biblical figures that were either just sort of left behind or sort of mischaracterized, but it's women throughout history. And it's an interesting phenomenon. In fact, there's a big deal with Wikipedia about how few women are represented on Wikipedia. And there's a whole movement, for women to submit articles about other women for Wikipedia to boost this up. I think there's a group that's sort of sponsoring this whole thing. And it kind of reminded me a little bit about how I first really got into the whole Rennes-le-Chateau mystery and this whole overarching bloodline mystery, the Da Vinci Code-esque mystery, all that, and this research that both you and I are steeped in today. And I remember it when I read way back in 1982. Of course, I was just a baby, but I was very smart, so I was reading. I read Holy Blood, Holy Grail, and which was very controversial at that time. And of course, it's by the authors of Bajet Lee and Lincoln, and who I had the pleasure to get to know very well, except for Richard Lee. But I knew Michael and worked with him extensively, and got to know Henry and was friends for years and did some work with him, helped him set up his archive and all that sort of stuff.
Wow.
But in that book, it was the first time I had heard the idea that maybe Mary Magdalene, was not a prostitute, and maybe she was much more important than, she was given credit for. And, I think it's still a bit this way, but certainly as I was growing up as a child, it was just sort of accepted that it was much better to be a boy. I mean, you could do so much more. You had so much more freedom. You had so many more opportunities. And I remember in my school classes, it's like there was and I went to a very small school. In my class, there was only, in the classroom, I think there was only like 30 people in the classroom. But there was a couple of us girls that were pretty smart cookies, and we always got really good grades. And there was one boy that would get good grades in, pretty good grades, but not quite as good as our grades. But he would get praised to the high heavens. And of course, he was the class president. I was the treasurer, and that sort of thing. And it was just always known it was kind of better to be a boy. And, in some ways, I didn't want to be a boy, but I realized that, hey, There's a whole different ball game going on there. But when I read Holy Blood, Holy Grail, I started to dare to think that maybe we didn't know everything, maybe we hadn't been told everything, and maybe it just wasn't quite that way. And so that really is what got me going in the whole mystery, was that idea that maybe women were not, just second-class citizens and helpmates. And not that there's anything wrong with being a helpmate, but I think it could go both ways. I think it could be each other's helpmates if you're in a heterosexual relationship. So, but anyhow, and so then I stumbled onto this YouTube video, which you and I have discussed, and realized there was this figure from history that I just had never heard of, and she sounded so terribly important. And then I started realizing how much more there was. So I contacted you. I knew you were the one to get into this subject with me. And oh my gosh, have you, as I said to you earlier, gone above and beyond the call of duty, and gotten some great research together. And so shall we start with Our Lady Thecla?
Yes, I think that's fantastic. And you have actually inspired me and helped me solve a piece of the puzzle in a book that's been on the back burner too long, and one that I'm going to be segueing to immediately. And I couldn't believe what actually has happened since you contacted me about tonight. Everything just went like this. And I truly did feel the hand of inspiration behind all of this, as if it were from another place, because what you've given me, what I had, and what I have been given from another lady has just all of a sudden gone whoosh.
Whoa.
And I am so excited about this. I am. This is fresh out of the gate, and you're the first to know. And the lady I'm referring to doesn't even know yet. So, and I'm going to be talking to her on Monday about this. And I just want to. I would like to say a few things. That what a beautiful introduction you've given. And I have so many thoughts I want to share all at once, but I've got.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
Can I just say one thing really quickly, because you just totally blew me away? Because when I was talking about my friend Gloria that passed away, and then we were saying, "Oh, she's probably looking over your." Anyway, what you just said, what I was trying to express, we were each other's, sounding boards, and I can't tell you, Gretchen, how many times I would call Gloria or shoot her an article, and she would say, "Oh my gosh, this is the piece I needed." And it would just happen so many times. It was just synchronicity going wild. Yes. And for you to say those very words right now, it really gave me goosebumps. Yes. When you said it, because it totally reminded me of yet another redhead, Gloria Amendola, who I miss very dearly. But that's so cool. That's so cool. Sorry to interrupt, but it just blew me away.
Thank you, and that's a tribute to your friend Gloria, and the divine feminine. Watching, acting through us, watching over us, and that may be heretical to some, but Mary Magdalene is a mother figure to us. And as the time goes on here together this evening, I hope to impart some sense of why that is the case, why she deserves to be the Queen of Heaven. Why she deserves to be next to the Christ, and why she is worthy, why we are worthy as women. And I don't want to give it's so hard to talk about this. And Holy Blood, Holy Grail was just fantastic. The works by Lawrence Gardner as well, Bloodline of the Holy Grail. And I so appreciate other authors who have different viewpoints about the marriage and the bloodline. Lynn Picknett, I adore her, even though we differ slightly. Well, we differ on what this all means. She's absolutely incredible. Okay, I've got to rein myself in here a little bit, but it's Christian mysticism is something that we don't really think about today, but early church women, early women of the Bible, of the church, did. And to them, it was about the simplicity of love. And another term for that is gratitude and appreciation. And those ideas that come to you through that grace are just what we're talking about, inspiration from those synchronicities that all file into place, all plays a part in Christian mysticism, which has been an unfolding for me in the last year. Because it really is still alive today, and I've met this remarkable woman, and I've learned so much from her. She doesn't think that I have, but I have. Anyway, we'll get to that. But thank you for the discussion of women here today, and Mary Magdalene, the first to be at the tomb, the first to speak to him on Easter weekend. He is risen. She was the first one there, and they didn't believe her. Initially they didn't. And then the guys picked up with it and ran with it. And then, of course, everything changed because of the because of the Council of Nicaea. Constantine changed the law, bringing Christianity into law. So we went from paganism to Christianity in 325 AD, and it became very male at that juncture. And over time, women were more and more segregated to the back. Unless you had money, you were able to protect yourself, and there are women in history who did, both politically as well as in the church. And I have found some remarkable women who were right at the center of the bloodline mystery, who are giving us coded information about Mary Magdalene. I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you.
Oh my gosh.
I hope it doesn't sound like I'm waffling here. I'm really not.
No, not at all.
This is a mystic experience that we are all capable of tapping into. You have just given me the gift of inspiration that had been given to you, and that has shifted the course of what it is that I'm doing right now. And I've been kind of stuck, and I needed something, and I didn't know where to go with what I had. And now, since you asked me to be here tonight, I now know what to do. And wow. I can't wait to share. So what I've put together with you as a result of your prompting is actually going to be in the next book I'm working on. So I'm really pleased that it all kind of came together with this loving guidance that if we just listen to and not dismiss, we can bring into our life. And it's so loving, it's so positive. And so, yes, but I would like to just speak before we go and talk about Saint Thecla, who I'd never heard about until you mentioned her to me. And I thought, who?
She was new to me.
I don't know who that is, and now I feel a bit bad, but
I did too. I was embarrassed. I'd never even heard of her.
no. So, I thought, gosh, I'm supposed to know about these things, and I did not know about her. Um, but I would like to just address the political side of this that has been haunting women for millennia. One of our problems is and it's our physiology. Women are physically very, very strong, but it's all geared into having a child. So we lack the 20% muscle mass that men have. And by that very fact, that puts us as potential prey for those who are might is right versus might for right.
Right.
And the whole movement of courtly love, perpetuated and grown by Eleanor of Aquitaine, the Queen of the Troubadours, alongside Bernard de Clairvaux, who grew Mariology and put women on a pedestal to out of chattel into a place of being special. And courtly love wasn't about sexual act. It was about, you're amazing. I'd like to sing your praises. I'd really like to appreciate you for the amazing individual that you are. So that was a first, in the early 1100s. But so, women have that 20% muscle mass, and without human laws in place, we get walked over unless we're in wealthy or incredibly able to leverage circumstance in our favor throughout history. But what we can't do, unless we have the protection of others that come after us, is guard our legacy. Thecla was written out of the book. And in the same way, I would like to mention briefly, in the medieval world, women were second at best, unless they had the money to protect themselves. And Eleanor of Aquitaine was the wealthiest woman, probably in the world at one point.
Right.
And she was put under house arrest by her first husband, the King of France. They went on the Second Crusade together. According to legends, she dressed up as an Amazon, and the women of her household did likewise, and they, rode to the Holy Land dressed as warriors. With the men, which I'm sure the king didn't really appreciate that much, but he wanted to attack a city that was friendly to Christianity, even though this ruler was Muslim. And he wanted to attack this city, which was daft and wrong. And she was constantly saying, she said, "Are you kidding me? We need them. They're on our side. We've been friends with them for years." But he put her under house arrest and had her taken back to France in practically, under arrest. And even though they'd had children together, because she was rich, because she could protect herself, she got the marriage annulled. And she was able to blame him for being non-binary, for being gay.
Oh.
And the Pope believed her and annulled the marriage, even though it had been consummated and there were a couple of
children.
So,
well, he still could be gay anyway.
Yeah. So she was, and so she was able to. She was highly intelligent, very well educated. She was able to protect herself. So that being a woman in the medieval era wasn't great. but it was made a bit easier because of Eleanor of Aquitaine, the courtly love movement, and Bernard de Clairvaux's Mariology. Eleanor of Aquitaine was put under house arrest by her second husband, Henry II, for many years because she sided with Richard the Lionheart, her son, over many issues. But it's not easy to talk about these things. And women, of course, represent 51% of the population base. And because the whole medieval world was all about reducing competition so that you could inherit the castle, inherit the title, inherit the money, be the big cheese, and you did that by might of the sword. You did that through various means. One of those means was to reduce the presence of women. And that took away half your competition right there. So I am so pleased that here in England, the law was changed recently to give Princess Charlotte the right to inherit the throne should something happen to her older brother, little Prince George. Rather than skipping over her and going to her younger brother. So even though we've had we've had Queen Victoria, and we've had some remarkable queens in this country, it is still geared towards the male preference.
The male heir. That's right.
And for me, I find it phenomenal and kind of scary to think about. In the United States, we were finally able to own property in 1972 without a male co-signer. That's scary. And
you couldn't get credit.
You couldn't get credit
of any kind.
No. And I just, with everything in me, hope we don't slide back, because
I feel like we are, but
we could slide back. And it's such a hot topic. It's such a political topic.
Yeah,
it's so difficult to talk about, and the politics of gender, the politics of being a woman, and there are practical problems in religion where the man is front and center and the woman has to be behind, because a heterosexual couple who are really in sync with each other, walking with each other, that's fantastic. And this is by no means I would never decry any other type of relationship. I'm just talking about the potential of Mary Magdalene having been married to Jesus, having had children. What does that say? What does that mean to us today? And we are uncovering more and more. And it's if you have I read this in an article a long time ago. If you in the church, in Christianity, there are 2 billion Christians in the world, and that's phenomenal. It's huge. The 3 Abrahamic religions are massive population base around the world. Judaism, Islam, Christianity is growing very quickly. Within Christianity, you've got 35,000 Christian sects in the world, And we still argue today about, well, which one's right?
Right.
That's the wrong question. The first question should be how we treat each other. And it's pretty simple. Love thy neighbor. Love thy neighbor is a pretty easy one to get. Don't kill. That's another one to figure out.
That's a good one. Yeah.
For heaven's sakes, don't rip off your neighbor, etc. These are all things we all know instinctively. But it's forgive me for waffling. I just wanted to bring up the political side of that today. And in many Christian sects today, you're supposed to follow the man. The man will get you into heaven as your husband. What if you don't have a man? Okay, then you're supposed to marry Jesus. And that in itself is a simplistic way of stating just what we've been talking about Christian mysticism and love. That is a form of marriage in itself. But from a strictly base, practical way, if you don't have the man in your life, then what's a woman supposed to do? How is she supposed to get to heaven? Okay, through Jesus, through God. Okay, but you women should be protected, have the right to vote, have the right to equal pay, have the right to live her life as she sees fit. She is not second best. She is not the downfall of humanity, because in the Bible it says Eve was to blame for the downfall of humanity. That's a misconception. In the Bible, it's been so simplified and shrunk down to the point where the half of the human race is now subhuman. And when you make someone subhuman, you reduce their human rights. Therefore, you have the right to attack them because they're not as worthy as you are. So I just wanted to bring up this messy topic, and it is messy. And
it is.
if you think about if you take the Bible literally, that's a difficult one. In my first book, I wrote several chapters on quantum physics. Quantum physics allows for the Earth to be created in 7 days. It also allows for a linear time. It also says that there is no such thing as time. So it's quite difficult. And in the mind of that center of creation, which is pure light. And in the closer you get to the center of the universe, it's impacted with suns and light. And the further, it's a metaphor for creation. The mind of the Creator, the mind of God, spanning out from the center and solidifying down the tree of life. And the Christian cross is another version of the tree of life. And the human being is a walking tree of life. We're meant to interface with the great divine, with God, with our Creator. And we'll go into that a little bit later on. But as in creation, in the Bible, the 7 days of creation and the creation of Eve, and then she eats of the tree of knowledge, and we were kicked out of the garden. It's a metaphor for the solidifying of thought down into the physical matter, and then physical matter, the planet Earth, becomes a metaphor for the mother. So the physical mother, because you have this cycle of birth and life and death that is hard to bear at times. When you get sick and the body doesn't work right, it's really tough. And even in our modern medicine world today, if you get sick and and medicine can't fix what's going on, that's hard to live up under. So to the simplistic mind going back far too far, making it Eve's fault that we are living here. We're living here because it's our school. We're meant to learn, and we're not doing a very good job of it sometimes. But the early church fathers, and a lot of this goes back to Peter. He was so jealous of Mary Magdalene. And because the Church of Peter won the battle, being strictly male, women have had a really tough time in the West ever since, and in the mindset, because it's Eve's fault. It's not Eve's fault. It's a misconception. And
even before, you were talking about the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, and sort of the rules being set up there, and women being pushed to the background. It really had started before that, that whole patriarchal society thing. But it wasn't always that way. And something that really blew my mind, Gretchen, when I was preparing for the show, is I discovered another figure that totally blew my mind. And so we're going to have to work on this one.
Wow.
It is Asherah, who was the wife of God. And it wasn't just that she was God's wife. It was Yahweh and Asherah, side by side, venerated in the same way.
Yeah.
But at some point, which I didn't get far enough because I only was looking at this today, it shifted and Asherah started being diminished. But there are still mentions. I didn't get a chance to look them up, but according to the articles, there is mentions of Asherah in the Bible. I'm sure Old Testament, but I don't think she would have made the New Testament. But anyway, I mean, had you ever heard that concept?
I have, and also in Judaism. In Star Trek, Mr. Spock, he was Jewish, and they wanted to come up with a greeting that Vulcans would give, and he took the symbol from, or he took this, and did live long and prosper, and this is a blessing in the Jewish temple, where you close your eyes. And this is the hand gesture, which is acknowledging its shin. It means shin, and this is the female presence of God, the bride. And you're not supposed to look upon her because she's very powerful. So you close your eyes, and you receive the blessing in the temple of the mother. And that's phenomenal. And there these hints, Judaism is first, but it's such a huge topic. But men who can't handle a lot of men just don't like women. You go back far enough and you see it around the world. I feel so bad for the female population base in Afghanistan. They're still stuck back there.
Oh, boy,
they closed down the schools. They aren't allowing girls to get educated anymore. This hatred of women goes back a long way, and a good portion.
Is it hatred or is it fear?
It's hatred. Well, fear is a form of hatred.
Well, yeah, that's true.
But you get an intelligent woman, and if you don't know how to handle an intelligent woman, and I believe it's purely political, and if you a man that is afraid and gets angry with intelligent women, violence is the next step, and reducing their Mary Magdalene was said in the she was quoted as saying, Peter hates my kind. And as she's saying this, and this is what the Nag Hammadi, the Book of Mary, whatever, that didn't make it into
Gospel
the Bible.
of Mary.
The Gospel of Mary, it didn't make it into the final cut. And these bishops in the Middle East were told, burn these books because they're not acceptable anymore. So rather than burning them, they hid them away and carried them. Buried them. So they didn't destroy them. So thank goodness we have them today, because it's our heritage. Don't burn books. You're wrong.
Yeah.
Don't burn books.
Those were just discovered in, I think it was 1947.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's so crazy to think that they were hidden away for all that time.
Yeah, and thank goodness, and here's Mary Magdalene, she's crying. Peter hates my race, my kind women. And Peter was jealous of her.
Yeah.
He wanted to be next to Jesus. He wanted to be the only leader and disciple. And what's interesting, he carried a sword, and that's not a poor man's trinket. This is somebody who could afford a high status object, but he was jealous of her because, as it says, Jesus used to kiss her often on the, which is blank in the fragment, the marriage fragment of a piece that had been discovered. So it's been extrapolated. He used to kiss her often on the mouth, and on and on and on. It's a big topic, but women, whether men like it or not, are half the population base, and I just pray that the rest of the world catches up. I am grateful for the courage of our suffragettes that put their lives at risk in the USA and here in England, going back to the 1800s, who were arrested for fighting for the vote, who were subjected to physical abuse, rape, potential murder, on and on and on, so that we could vote. And then the long march towards, African American women and minority women having a say, having higher esteem, and being acknowledged in the workplace, on and on and on. I think that there are so many examples through time of women who are our role models. And I believe a true Christian man would never, ever put his lady or his daughter last. Or a true Christian man would ever condone early marriage to a 14-year-old girl who hasn't fully developed enough to give birth safely and could ruin her reproductive system for the rest of her life. It's very dangerous, on and on and on. Well, I don't want to hog the whole program, in the politics of all of this, but I did want to bring some of this up.
Well, it
And
all fits together, and
it
I
does,
was like
because
finding some of the same thing, like when I was doing research on, sort of, the subjugation of women through history,
yeah,
the sort of vanishing of women through history, I was finding all kinds of things that not just I was connecting up, but others, in articles, the writers were connecting up with modern day things like the whole incel community, this whole rising of this male thing that it's really weird, but there are, I consider myself a feminist, although, all that means to me is that I believe, we're equal, and everyone should be treated equally. And,
yeah,
I'm not, I don't hate men, none of that. I don't think we should have more. I just want to be even, just want to be
respected.
equal.
And
But
I have to say,
I've had,
yeah,
oh, I'm sorry. I was
I
just going to, no, you go, you go, you go.
all I want to say is that I've learned, I appreciate it when a man opens door for me, and I want also to be respected. If I do a job, I want to be paid the same.
Mm.
Um, somebody very, very close to me ended up being a single mother, and she made the right choice to do so because of what happened in the marriage. Ended up working in a male-dominated sector in construction. She became a contract estimator, which is a really tough job. You've got to know how many nails, planks go into a house when you're building it. And then you've got to factor up all the costs, go out and hire the teams to build the house. Her predecessor, a fellow, lost more money for the company, got paid more because he had a family. When she found out, she actually looked at the finances in that department, got everything shaken down, and then found out he made more than she did. And she had two young little ones at home. And she said, well, what's up with this? And, well, he had a family. Well, she had a family. She had two children. So, ooh.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I remember.
Men, and that's an excuse. You and I don't hate men, and I want to express my femininity the way I choose to express it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I love the company of men. I love my male family members. I respect my father. My family is huge and filled with everything from left to right. And they're all remarkable people who I love and respect. So it's always, I'm always like, oh God, how do I think about this? And the people who read my work, likewise, I'm astonished by the people who read what I write, because they're from left to right and everything in between. And I'm like, how do you take what I've written and go there with it?
Right.
And it's helped me think about things differently. But the one thing you cannot, past a certain point, there's practicality in life. There's horse sense. You got to clean out the barn. You got to clean out the stall. Personal integrity, don't lie. And I'm sorry, but there are certain things that don't wash, like slavery. We can't go back there. Economic slavery, we're still struggling with. We're becoming the digital peasantry to we're at the bottom of a huge pyramid where the 1% of 1% keeps amassing the wealth of the world.
Ooh, yeah.
And, we're all struggling down here and getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed, and we can't live the way we're supposed to live. And our immune systems, because we're stressed all the time, are collapsing, and we need to be able to and deserve to be able to live. We're here to live. We are divinely created beings, and we have the right to live. Thou shalt not kill, either slowly through stress or violently. And
I'd rather be killed quickly in a violent manner than slowly with stress.
I know, it's horrible. And here's an interesting thing, too. The women we're about to talk about stress divine love. And we'll go through that process, too. So you had a situation where, and I'm not anti-Catholic. I actually understand and chime with a lot of Catholicism, not the corruption and problems that are happening, and there's so much about the Pope right now, that we have that he's phenomenal. He is incredible.
He's hard not to like.
He's hard not to like, and we've got to be pragmatic. As 2 billion Christians in the world, we got to start respecting our women, and the other religions and secular systems in the world need to respect the women. It's part of the flowering of life. But I was going to bring up the immune system. If it's being spiked with stress and the hormone of cortisol, it's going to start tearing down your health. So here you have in the early church, you have, sin, 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 and Peter is saying, oh, you're bad. And, this whole self-flagellation thing, that's going to ruin your immune system. And that's not what we're supposed to be doing. And you don't need to do that to live righteously, to live rightly. And the Christian mysticism and love and agape is about love and appreciation and respect for your body, respect for others. It's not hard, but because power, control, hate, misunderstanding, and not knowing how to handle women, Peter just went like this, boom. So through Might of the Sword, poor Mary Magdalene and her following of women, and the underground church, which became the bloodline, the children, who carried that message forward into got subverted. So anyway, that's my 2 cents worth.
Wow. Well, we're coming right up on the break, and speaking of phenomenal women, I've got a great friend who I worked with for many years in television. We met on a show, Ripley's Believe It or Not. I was co-producer of that series, and she was a field director and producer from India. So we would call on her when we had stories, in that part of the world. And she was responsible for the very first episode of our show when we started the whole new show up again with Dean Cain. And the first episode that we did, we picked the most, compelling episode to start the whole series with. And it was horribly entitled Modern Day Cannibals. But it was about the Aguri tribe in India, that have a practice of eating the flesh of the dead. And it's a ceremonial thing. And anyway, so on that very episode, the very first one where we worked together, Mahima is her name, Mahima Anand, had some sort of spiritual experience there I think it was at the River Ganges, and with the Aguri people, and it changed the course of her life. And she's a wonderful, amazing woman. She's got a series now called Shifting Tides. But I thought we'd just take a quick breather with Mahima and play a quick moment from her, and then we'll go to a commercial break, and then we'll be right back for the second hour of Night Vision with Gretchen Cornwall. So here we go. Whoops.
More often than not, we block our own abundance with our own limitations. We clip the wings of our own potential. Very early on in life, we are given signs by the universe how to follow our own truth. Sometimes we may be pressurized to do something which doesn't really align with our higher self. Or sometimes we keep doing some things which make us restless, which make us unhappy and sad. Yet we continue doing because of some reason or the other, some conditioning, some social pressures. Very early on, I stuck out like a sore thumb in my family, in my environment, and I continued to go against the tide. But something pushed me into following my heart. If I hadn't done that, I would not have reached where I am today. Because now when I look back, I can only smile at all the things that I had to endure to get to this space. So follow your bliss, follow your dreams, follow your heart, because that's where the real you lies. That's where you can ultimately reach where you're meant to be.
Words to live by, and we'll be right back after this break.
Hey members, the new KGRA-DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA-DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA-DB.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Welcome to the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. Here you'll find great new content, including the KGRA Classics, great shows from our archives. You'll be able to see the show times and information so you can see what show is currently on air. The on-air live button. So just go to this section and you'll be able to hear the show live with exceptional sound quality. We also have the Vault section. Make sure to subscribe to get access to great content and special features. We have the make content for our latest news and events, so make sure to sign up and you can be part of our forum. So make sure to check out the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you enjoy the new website.
Hi, welcome back to Night Vision. If you're just joining us, my guest tonight is Gretchen Cornwall. She's an author and a researcher. We have been talking about women missing from the Bible and from history. And we've been talking about some really incredible people, some that I'd never heard of and until now, but I'm really getting into this. And Gretchen has informed us that what we're talking about is going to become a part of her new book that she's working on, her next book. So I'm very excited about that. So anyhow, also want to wish everyone happy holidays. It's Passover tonight. Of course, maybe people aren't watching TV that are celebrating Passover. They're having their nice Seder dinner. And also Easter Sunday is coming up. So I want to wish everyone happy Easter. So welcome back to Night Vision. And Gretchen, I want to definitely get into some of your latest research and your work in England, but I don't want to cut you short on the subject that we were talking about the first hour. So you let me know if you have some closing remarks you want to make about that, and then let's get into those caves.
Oh, well, if you'd like to, I've put together a PowerPoint presentation of who Thecla is. We talked about modern politics and beliefs and, Mary Magdalene, but I can talk about the caves, but this, I was more prepared to talk about this.
Let's go.
Right?
Yeah, let's go for it. And then maybe at the end a little bit, you can just give us a little tip.
I really only have a little bit to share about that because I did, it's such a, it's actually all about visuals. And I spent more time on women than I did on putting together, I can share if let's talk about the women. Let's talk about the gals.
Okay. Yeah, Thecla is amazing. And there's a YouTube video that I think it's called The Acts of Paul and Thecla or something like that.
Yeah,
if you put
do you want to do a screen? I did the PowerPoint presentation thing. Do you want me to do the share screen thing?
Can you do it? I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, I think, let me see what I can do here. Share screen, share screen sharing. Okay, share screen. There.
I have to learn that.
Can you see that? I'm going to diminish that. What do you see?
I can't see anything. I just still see you just as you were.
Okay, go to, thank you everyone for your patience. Go to the bottom of your SteamYard window. Do you see mute, the video camera settings, and then a little monitor that says share?
Yes.
Click on that.
Okay. And then just hit share screen?
Yeah, I think that's what we need to do. Can you, I wanted to share my screen. I'm trying to chat with your producer here. Can you give control to me? Can you give control to me? Because I sent you the PowerPoint presentation. It might be easier if I do it, unless you want to do it. Do you have the PowerPoint presentation I put together? I'm talking to your producer.
But I am going to send it to him right now, unless you've got it handy.
Because I think you have to enable me to share.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great. And I'm sorry I didn't realize that's what you wanted.
Oh, that's okay. I just thought it would be easier. Thank you for your patience, everyone. But I did put together a PowerPoint with images to guide us through the progression. And
I'm going to send it to Bill right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, everybody.
Thank you.
We're trying to get you some pretty pictures here.
Yeah, and that will help me remember too. Images are great to jog the memory.
Bill, see if you can access that. I sent it to you in Skype.
Okay. Thank you for your patience, everyone. And
yes.
this is just big
Well,
topic.
Bill is working on that. Can you give us a little preview of what we're going to be
Okay, so
seeing?
you introduced Thecla to me. She actually is one of 140 saints on the colonnade at the Vatican. You know, that massive space where the faithful gather to hear the Pope speak. And these statues are incredible. Her feast day is September 23rd. She was born in 30 AD, approximately, and was a disciple of Paul. And they had a very close relationship. And she had...
there we go.
Yeah. Okay. Bill, if I just say next, will you be doing that, or?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so there's Thecla in Rome at the Vatican, and she is she was written out of the Bible. How about that? The Acts of Paul and Thecla, and so next screen, please. Next screen. Thank you. So there are a few images of her. This young woman was supposed to have been married off to a fellow, but Thecla heard Paul speaking and became so enraptured of what he was saying that she wanted to give her life to God, marry God, be with God, and live simply. So her mother and her fiance became very angry, had Paul arrested, had Thecla arrested. She was even threatened by her own mother, with burning at the stake. They decided to burn her, but a rain came and put the fire out. They sent her to the theater to be eaten by lions and all sorts of things. She was tied to 2 bulls, but the lions, rather than eating her, protected her. So she became this sort of interesting St. Francis figure, if you will, that animals loved and animals protected her. So Thecla goes on to live a very long life, converting, so many individuals to the idea of Christian mysticism and love, the love of God, fascinating figure. And she was known all across the Levant. Everybody at the time knew who she was. Next screen, please. This is the underground church in Turkey. She lived a long life, but eventually people came to she was martyred, but they're not sure exactly what happened to her. She was said to have, through a miracle, escaped being murdered by being taken into the inside of a cave by God, and she was turned into stone to protect her. Her cloak that had fallen on the ground because she was trying to flee her persecutors also turned into stone. So God protected her from being murdered by this mob. But she was very, very famous, and yet we don't know about her today. I only know about her because Renee told me about her. Next slide, please. And she had a presence in the catacombs of Rome as well. So she made her her legend made it through Europe. So she is talked about at length in the Acts of Paul and Thecla. Her presence was basically edited out by Tertullian. Next slide, please. And Thecla, whilst she was being persecuted and her life was being threatened, jumped into a pond and baptized herself in the midst of the threat of violence. Next, and of course, Paul proved this. Next slide, yeah. Tertullian, who came around, he's what, as you can see there, 155 to 220 AD, claimed that Thecla was a fictional work of fraud. However, the problem is with that, thank you, next slide, this fantastic young man, you can find him on YouTube. Look up Genetically Modified Skeptic, and he does a very respectful academic view of this subject and has engaged with an academic to guide him through the process of understanding early Christianity, and without judgment of theology, just examining the facts. And I would hope I can, although I've probably crossed several lines, I will always have a disclaimer that I am not anti-religion. We should just all respect each other. And we all know what those rules are. We all, and that's what we discussed in the first half. So this list you're seeing here, are early Christian authors that predate Tertullian, if I've said it right, who all talk about Thecla. So this is fascinating. They all talk about Thecla. That's evidence of her widespread knowledge at the time. Next slide, please. And this is an image of Thecla, and advocating the direct experience of the all that is, the unconditional love of God, without the need of an intercessor or a priest, without the need of formal religion. And this is a form of heresy. And here's why it's a heresy: because, the Catholic Church, when it's gone through its various formations, it's very rich. It owns a lot of property. They are the keepers of beautiful art, and they do a wonderful job of protecting that art. They have an immense archive, as we all famously know, and in today's world, they are fantastic astronomers. They have some incredible scientists on board, but you go back into early Christianity, and things were ruthless towards women in the memory of early Christian saints, female saints, and Thecla was a victim of this being written out. So when you've got a large organization that needs money to keep up a physical edifices, such as this huge, the Vatican needs money to keep it going. The marble structures need to be repaired. These are ancient buildings around the world. Tithing. As soon as you start spreading the word that you don't need a building to partake in the love of God, you're going into politics there and economics there. So you're reducing the money available to an organization. So this is the human political side So if you can reduce competition, you've got more money. And by reducing women, you've got more of a stage as a man. You don't want to be upstaged by Mary Magdalene, do you? You don't want to be upstaged by the wife of God, do you? So you get rid of her, you get rid of all the female voices, and you've got less competition. And then you have a priestly caste that is between women and God. And you have to go through the priest to get to God. You have to go through your husband to get to God, or you marry the church to get to God. And all your efforts, financial efforts, go into keeping that edifice, that physical edifice, working. So and this is not an attack on religion today. It's not. This is just what happened. So is it heresy? No, it's just practical politics and money. Shock horror. Next slide, please. Okay, divine feminine. He found her worthy. The marriage of Cana, won't go into that in depth. The marriage at Cana was the marriage of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, the divine couple, the new Eve, father, mother, and child. Next slide, please. The new Eve, the new hope. Our Father and Mother who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. A reflect life on earth, and a very real threat to the male-only Roman Empire and burgeoning church.
Margaret Starbird, of course, the author. I have a lot of respect for Margaret, who, did a lot of this work researching. Well, she actually started out to disprove the idea of the marriage between Jesus and Mary Magdalene. She was, a Catholic, and had actually, at one point, she either was a nun or she was studying to be a nun. So she was really going after disproving this, heretical idea that they were not married, and instead just using only the canonical Gospels, she proved that indeed they were. And the wedding at Cana was one of the some of the evidence that she cited. But she also said, I did a film called Bloodline some years back about these ideas. And Margaret said, what if we had this, Christianity had this as our model, instead of, a suffering image of someone being murdered on a cross, if it was, the partners standing side by side, what difference could that have made? And it's really something to think about, because the idea of the suffering on the cross for our sins, because we're so bad, he had to be killed, and suffer for us. Maybe that didn't happen quite that way, maybe, and of course there's a lot of controversy about whether or not he died that day, whether or not it was him on the cross, all that. But, we can't know for sure. But there's evidence all kinds of ways in ancient writings. But the idea that, had we had this model of masculine and feminine side by side, integral parts, complementary, not only, in the outer with, other people, but in the inner within ourselves. I mean, because we all have both those elements
absolutely
in us. Yeah. And if we had the ability and the knowledge to honor that, then, oh my goodness, things could have been really different. Maybe there wouldn't have been so many wars. I mean, it just, I don't know. Anyway, sorry to interrupt,
No,
but you
no.
reminded me of Margaret.
I wanted to have a conversation tonight because you are very knowledgeable on this subject, and we could talk for hours about the crucifixion and the various theories, etc. And there's always a spiritual element to these physical matters. But I wanted to have a conversation with you tonight about these topics. And I heard a phrase quite some time ago that the United States is a secular Christian nation. And that's another topic. And I think that's true. And within that, there is a lot of goodness.
There is a lot of goodness in that, but also anyone that really studies the founding fathers and their intention would have known that wasn't their intention, because if you focus on one religion being the right one, then, it's a problem. Or if you're not religious, it's a problem.
Yeah, that's another ballad.
I mean, the whole separation of church and state is all about that.
Yeah.
And I'm like you. I don't want to denigrate anyone's faith. And, I believe that, people should be free to believe any way they want. And, but it's this whole judgy thing that really, comes into play when you start trying to sort of exclude other ways of thinking. So it's, it's not a good thing in my book, but certainly religion and certain faiths to people are very, very wonderful and helpful and bring a lot of comfort, in times of need, and bring a lot of community and help a lot of other people, and so it's all really, really very good. It's only when you start excluding that it becomes bad. And I think that Jesus would not have been someone that wanted to exclude people, not the Jesus that I believe.
I agree. And women were important followers. Women supported his mission. And I don't believe that I think one of the Judaism at that time was very male centric, and Jesus had a different perspective. And you can extrapolate from some of his comments, such as the disciples saying, well, why do you love her more than us? And he says, are you kidding? Look at her. Why
exactly. I mean, even his answer.
You're a big, hairy bloke. Come on. She's my companion.
Didn't he say something like, I don't remember exactly, but I remember when I read that passage in Nag Hammadi, and I don't even remember which book it was in.
I know,
but he said, it's like,
how do I not?
He repeated the question, why do I love her more than? It's like almost like, come on, man, open your eyes. You know?
Exactly. And a confident man will never denigrate the women in his life. A confident man will never sabotage a woman in the workplace. And a confident man will never take advantage or prey upon a woman. So what I will say, which I learned this, it blew me away. I can't remember which emperor it was. It might have been Augustus, but this Roman emperor who was Christian actually decided to enforce marriage, because what was happening in his Christian empire at the core of Rome is Rome was degrading from within. And he thought, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Because his top brass were these men were running all over the place, having relationships with women all over the place, having children, not caring for them, running off on the poor woman he had children with. They were behaving badly. And he thought, right, I'm going to hit him where it counts. You get to marry one woman. And if you have a child, I'll give you a tax break. If you have another child, you get another tax break. If you have another child, you get another tax break. The kicker is you're married. You don't have a mistress. You cannot have children with your slaves, yada, yada, yada. So the institution of marriage was brought in to stabilize Rome. Mm-hmm. And that became a core of Christianity that we all take for granted. So, and that protected women. He thought that this is terrible. These my top guys are having, relationships with women all over the place, not looking after them, discarding their children. And he ended that. And I appreciate that. So that's not something that's very well known. Yeah. So, think of that as how you will, but, would you like to continue? We're almost half the hour. Next slide.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to add to that, Renee? Or
you go right ahead. Okay. I'll pipe up when something comes to me, but I'm enjoying it. I'm learning.
So, she really is the first, she is the disciple. She's his companion. She's his wife. They have children. We could certainly talk about that aspect of things another time, but this is about the women who have either been reduced in our history of the church, or that we just don't know enough about. As you said earlier, next slide, and their legacies do live on. Feminine voices in leadership in the Middle Ages. Hildegard von Bingen is very famous today. If you know anything about medieval history, she is the first, the one to create a music notation system. Her music is performed and recorded today, but she spoke directly to God. She almost got into a lot of trouble on May Day. She did not require that her nuns cut their hair. She figured that if God made women to have long hair, then that must be good. So on May Day, they wore white chemises, white dresses, and they took off their head covering and wore their hair down. And then they had, May Day celebrations. So, and that's really interesting stuff there. But she was almost excommunicated for that. But she was incredibly educated. She had scribes that she was constantly working with. We have a large body of her work, botanical. She's theologian, medical writings. But yeah, the May Day episode, is really interesting.
That's wild.
Next slide, please.
What I was thinking about when we were talking about that passage in the Gnostic Gospels, the Nag Hammadi Library, about Jesus, the disciples asking Jesus, why do you love her more? There was also a real school of thought, and I wish I could cite something. I didn't look it up beforehand, but that not only, was, of course, she, someone that he had a love for, but also she understood what he was teaching. She understood the teachings best.
Yeah.
And that's why she was the one that he shared more of the secret teachings with.
Yeah.
And also, why she was the one who really would have been the head of the church instead of Peter.
Absolutely.
But she got ripped off.
That is it entirely. And women have suffered down the centuries as a result. And men have suffered too.
Yeah.
We've all suffered. This is Mechtilde of Magdeburg, Germany. She is also part of this Christian mysticism stream of agape and love. And she wrote a book that you can still read today, The Flowing Light of Divinity. And next slide, please.
Magdeburg. Is that anything to do with Magdalene?
Cha-ching! Germany. This is the coat of arms for the city of Magdeburg, and I highlight this in my book, my first book. So you have the maiden, or Mary Magdalene, holding the sword of truth and the palm of victory. And palm fronds are a victory, status that Jesus riding into Jerusalem on a donkey, declaring he with that visual declares himself as king, and those who lay palms before him, that is, they are welcoming the victor and the rightful political king and spiritual king of Israel into the city. And of course, if you're going to be a physical king, which he was by lineage, but he was in exile, you had to get married. Briefly, they call him rabbi in the Bible. If you're going to be a rabbi, he was born into a Judaic culture, not a Christian culture. And everybody forgets that.
That's
in Judaism,
right.
in order to be called rabbi,
You have to get married.
be married and have children.
Oh, I did not know that.
In order to be a rabbi, you have to have kids. Otherwise, you can't lead, because you don't know what it's like to have a family. And then that the spiritual side of that is, if you're married and in complementary, companionable with you're friends with your wife, you're running your home together. You respect her, she respects you, you keep each other going forward, she provides wisdom at times, you provide wisdom at times, on and on and on. So yeah, rabbi. And so here she is. And Germany has a special relationship with the Magdalene that I myself don't know the depths of, have not plumbed the depths of, to which I would like to. But she's saying, I've got the sword of truth. I hold the knowledge of truth in my hands of what really happened. Here is the palm of victory. Magdalene means tower.
Yes.
Mary the tower. And so you've got a city, a medieval city, basically saying this is the city of Mary Magdalene. So the mastermind of Bernard de Clairvaux, behind the Templars, gave his crozier to Speyer Cathedral in Germany, and Speyer Cathedral in Germany is dedicated to Mary Magdalene. There's a real tradition of the Magdalene in Germany that isn't that well known about. Next slide, please. And I took these images. They were above a castle gate, 1600s, early 1700s. This is south of Berlin. Magdalene, as the Magdalene venerated in Germany, you see a woman with a vessel. Mary Magdalene is always, shown with a vessel, and 3 children. And there's a lot of talk of her having had 3 children. And here you have the woman with her left knee bared and a priest standing next to her. So you've got the sword of truth, and you've got the equal opposites of male and female. And this is what I would think of might be a Rosicrucian symbology here, potentially, but certainly the priestess, the female priestess holding the sword of truth, the lineage, bloodline of Mary Magdalene and Jesus continuing into Europe. Next slide, please. Margaret Porret is very, very interesting. She was a noble woman who wrote the book The Mirror of Simple Souls, about love, again, how direct communion with the great divine, with Father and Mother God. Burned at the stake 1310 by the same people that burnt the Templars. Her case file, if you will, was kept by the known villain, de Nogaret, who was the chief persecutor of the Knights Templar. Mm-hmm. And her book was continued. The church wasn't able to get their hands on her book completely and burn it. It kept circulating through the 1400s on up, and eventually was identified as being her work. So that's very interesting that she has a connection with the Knights Templar through de Nogaret. Next, wow. Please.
That is interesting.
Yeah. And she was a Beguine, if I've said it right. And these were women who would either live in towns, villages, communities of just women. And it was all about love directly with God, with Christ. And they were not a formally recognized order. They just simply did it organically. They gathered organically, and they were known as the Beguine movement. And they did not follow a religious dogma rule of law. The Templars had a very harsh rule of law as a these guys were not. You didn't fool with them, but they were incredibly disciplined. But here you have women from high social standing to lower social standing. You've got a crowned woman literally building, in as a token of equality. And these are educated women. They're gathering together. They're doing everything needed to support themselves in a community, in a town. And they're in love with God, with Christ. Next, please.
So was that in one location?
No. Yeah, it was all over Europe.
So there was like different little communities?
Oh yeah, and they're still active. Active.
My gosh.
They're more formalized now, but they've never left the field, as it were. And all these women are seem to center in Germanic. The women I'm presenting to you are Germanic or Saxon. Herod of Landsberg is incredible, and I focus on her in my book. Again, another very well-educated woman, and she wrote the Garden of Delights, or Hortus Delicarium, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And this is this thing weighs a ton. It's in two parts. This is her book.
Oh my gosh.
It's expensive as anything, but it actually, I shouldn't say that. It's not her book. This is a academic, this is an academic explanation of her work. Wow. The Garden of Delights. And unfortunately, the original manuscript was sadly destroyed in a fire. But prior to that happening, someone redrew her illustrations, which I'm now going to share with you, that are tied to Mary Magdalene. I won't pick up the heavier one because it's heavy. But okay, so she was. Wow. Her patron was Frederick I. Now, Frederick I went on the Second Crusade along with Eleanor of Aquitaine. which I spoke about at the behest of Bernard de Clairvaux. But and he was a redhead, which is interesting. So and more than likely, part of the bloodline. That is my consideration on that. And so let's get into why she is so important. Next slide, please. This is the main plate to focus on. You have Philosophia in the center, and it is a coded document venerating Mary Magdalene in the medieval era. The 7 liberal arts go back to Greece. And if you were proficient in all of these areas, then you were a good citizen. And Rome likewise took on board this concept. If you mastered these 7 areas, then you could then be wise enough to participate in government. It's a fascinating subject. So here you have Philosophia in the center, which means Sophia means wisdom, and the phrase the Sophia of Christ, the wisdom of Christ. Well, Sophia is Mary Magdalene, and notice. These are the 7 muses of the 7 liberal arts. And in the middle there, below the central figure, the Sophia, you've got Plato. And on her crown, you've got three faces. If she had 3 children, well, there they are. And she's holding that very strange banner, and out of her heart, the heart center, come the 7 streams of knowledge. And so fast forward, next slide. So I've dissected this for you. In the middle, you have geometry. And you have on the right-hand side astronomy. The left-hand side, you have arithmetic. And this is incredibly important. Just take a moment. In my book I'll go into that in a minute. Go ahead and fast forward to the next slide. Okay, here's where it gets interesting. So what does that mean? What have we just seen? What does it mean? You've got you've got an M with geometry. Part of the compass and her skirt and the staff form a letter M. Now, to the right of her, astronomy, she's holding the alabaster jar potentially. Now, if you're counting the stars at night, why are you holding a jar or a container? Why are you doing that? So this is a reproduction, not the original. Now those stars, I believe, represent an important constellation, Cassiopeia. Now, granted, they're a little bit wobbly, but medieval drawings are often a little bit wobbly, and this is reproduction. So perhaps the person who reproduced this didn't understand the content completely, and perhaps that's why it's a little bit wobbly. Now, notice the M and the skewed W. Yeah. Keep in mind arithmetic up in the top hand corner there, and her garland of beads. Next slide. Oh, I think I duplicated that twice, didn't I?
Oh, okay.
Next slide.
I was looking for something different. Oh, yeah.
Queen of Heaven, Cassiopeia. Now, Cassiopeia, unfortunately, in Greek mythology, has been termed as a vain woman. But those who venerate Mary Magdalene chose to view the North Star as Jesus. And Cassiopeia revolves around the North Star, and she revolves in the night sky. The throne, the Queen of Heaven, revolves in in the night sky around the North Pole. And what you end up with is two M's. I mean, this is as close as you're going to get to Mary Magdalene, her initials on the night sky. And if you take those two weird M's, and it's a throne, it's meant to represent a throne, and Cassiopeia sits on the throne with supposedly her mirror of vanity, because she was so vain as to say that her daughter Andromeda was more beautiful than Juno, than Zeus's wife, Hera. If you take the two banners from the image I just showed you, she's holding a very elongated letter M, isn't she? A banner. So I took the two, just playing around, I took the banner and I flipped it. So you see in the lower right-hand corner there, that's the banner that Sophia is holding. And you get these three triangles. You get three, father, mother.
Oh, it's MW.
Yeah, MW, and it creates three diamonds, father, mother, child. And if and that's very esoteric too. You take a diamond, and the upright, it always represents, you cut it in half and you get an upright triangle, and you get the upside down triangle. This is female, that's male. Yeah. And together, they create a child. You push the two together, you push those two triangles together, and you've got the Star of David, don't you? Which is a magical symbol. So there's right there that you need the feminine energy and you need the masculine energy for a complete symbol of God, the Star of David. And you need that divine feminine, divine male to create the child. So next slide, please. So here we have the Queen of Heaven, Mary Magdalene, and the Platonic Mystery School in Greece. The motto was "Know thyself." So the mirror is actually, look at yourself in the mirror. What are your motivations?
And man in the mirror. The woman in the mirror.
The woman with the mirror. But also, this is where the early church got into trouble because of their jealousies and only wanting a male-centric religion. Were not honest with themselves. They weren't honest about their motivations. So, you can take that mirror and look into it. And it's either an esoteric symbol, it's the symbol of the wise woman, the Queen of Heaven, who's imparting knowledge. And it's also a symbol of, hey, have you got your ducks in a row? Is your life on course? Are you being honest with yourself? The maligned queen of heaven is the one we should be following. Next, please. So the lost bride of God, the lost bride of Jesus, Mary Magdalene and Martha by Caravaggio is a very interesting painting because what it's supposed to be saying is that Martha is trying to get the prostitute Mary Magdalene to come to God. The problem is Caravaggio knew she wasn't a prostitute. And in 1969, the Pope said, we made a mistake. She's not a prostitute.
Sorry.
Out of the bag, and around the world she's still being talked about as the prostitute sinner, rather than the supporter, financial supporter of Jesus and his ministry. Now notice the triangle, the diamond shape in the mirror, the black mirror, where her hand is in a really awkward position. And I sat there, and this picture is my book. I tried to hold my hand in that position. It's tough. So she's pointing to that diamond shape, which we just talked about. That is actually the important feature here. You don't see Martha in the reflection. She's not there. In other words, this isn't about Martha. Also, Martha and Mary Magdalene are dressed in the same colors. They're mirroring each other. Mary Magdalene was already, with God. She was Jesus's wife, and the comb on the table represented, she brushing her hair isn't vanity. It's long-haired Merovingian, kings. Their long hair was a power to them. And you've got a euphemism of her ointment jar with a sponge in it. But there isn't any color pigmentation on the table. She's not heavily made up. So this is not about Martha trying to convince the vanity of Mary Magdalene to turn to God and walk away from prostitution. She's already there. And notice the flower in her hand, the simple white flower, the pentagram, the 5-pointed star in an upright position of purity. The symbol of man is the number 5, for obvious reasons, head, 2 arms.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of coding in here. And she's wearing red. She's got green over her arm. Those are the color of fertility. And black, in the mirror, the convex mirror, hidden mysteries.
Yeah. It's like
So
a scrying mirror.
It's all, that's there too. So the inner realm of mysticism and direct experience direct experience of love. Next slide, please. So, this is a different subject, but I know we're running short on time, but this is my next project. I'm working with director Lucas Santoni, a veteran documentary filmmaker. He has 2 films out now on Amazon Prime that have been re-released on Amazon Prime. They were there previously, and he's re-released them. But if you look up on YouTube with the direct search words, web icon Templars, you can see the trailers for the two that are out now. And there's a new website. And if you go to templars-tv.com, you'll see pictures of me and some Corianne Mall, Christopher Morford, many other experts. We're doing 3 more episodes, and I'm very privileged to be involved with this. If you fast forward, please.
Now, you said that's on Netflix.
No, on Amazon Prime Video.
Amazon Prime. Okay, I've got that too.
Okay,
I'm ready.
And I'm showing these images with you so that when you'll know what you're looking at when you do a search on YouTube for the trailer.
Yes.
And on Amazon Prime, so you can see the first 2 episodes. The expert here, Tanya, is Italian, and just be patient. She's got so much information. She doesn't repeat herself. She is so smart. She's a lawyer. This gal is like this, and she met with Henry Lincoln, and Henry Lincoln adored her, and that's such a gift. But when these 2 episodes were on Amazon Prime prior, they had 6 million views.
Wow!
And so the IMDb is out of date. It was actually 6 million. He took everything down, rejigged everything, and then relaunched. So that's why I'm showing that to you. I don't remember what the next slide is.
Gretchen Cornwall.
So what I spoke to you about tonight with the coded, what I consider to be early tracing board of Mary Magdalene in code and Cassiopeia is in the secret dossier of a Knight Templar of the Sangreal.
Yeah.
I've got books in stock that I can personalize and send to you. I'm also on Amazon, but you keep up with me on Facebook or on my website, my newsletter. And if you sign up for my newsletter, you'll get a free chapter on Bernard de Clairvaux out of my first book.
Ooh, that sounds great. Wow, that is so amazing. I've had such a good time tonight. And, this is also inspiring me to continue looking and into these women that we've been talking about and others. I mean, there are so many women who have not been recognized, and, women of modern days. And,
God, yes.
And even...
Yes.
even currently. But we had the women, the three Black women that were huge part of the NASA projects. And the last few years there was a movie called Hidden Figures that was written about them. Yeah, absolutely. But why didn't we know about them?
I know.
And
we were told.
It's really wild. But I like and agree with your explanation about eliminating, half the competition right off the bat. We have a way of dividing up into groups, and I think that's our big issue. Yeah. But you're going to have to promise to come back again, and we get into our next inspired subject, and also be sure and let us know when your new book is coming out. And if you'd like to get Gretchen's book, she's on Amazon, but also at GretchenCornwall.com. So visit her website, check her out on Facebook. She posts there often. She's got a great blog on her website. It's all good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. I thank you for being, with me tonight and choosing to spend your time here. Happy Easter. Happy Oyster, if I've pronounced it right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And good night, everyone. See you next week.
Good night.